Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 39 of our TCW Save in TEW 2020. This is Total Wrestling for June, week 2. I know it has been a little bit since we had the most recent episode of the TCW Save. As you guys saw, took a couple months off and came back with a couple videos in the WWF 1992 Save. But I did tell you that we were going to be getting an episode up this week for TCW because I finally went back, put all my storyline notes together, had to remember exactly where we were and all the little tiny details of every story that we were trying to tell, which can take a little while. But we've done that, and now we're back and ready to keep this thing going here after Total Mayhem as we now are on the road to Excessive Force, which will be our next pay-per-view type event. I will go ahead and tell you this will be more of your Clash of the Champions-esque show before we get to a bigger show in July. So that is just something of note, but we are going to start things off here. What I will do, I'll kind of remind you of a little bit of the story stuff that we had going on and why these segments are important in case you don't have a chance to go back and watch everything. Maybe this will refresh your mind a little bit. But let's jump right in because we are going to start in a somewhat similar way that we did on the most recent episode of Total Wrestling, the show after Total Mayhem. And it is Angry Gilmore coming back out, and it's Kyle Rhodes once again with a microphone. And Angry Gilmore says, I'm just going to be honest with you, I didn't want to come back out here, but it is kind of like deja vu because last week I made it very clear that I would be waiting for Wolf Hawkins. And everyone at the time told me the Syndicate were not at the arena. But they decided to show up at the end of last week's show, and yet Wolf Hawkins had nothing to say about me. He had nothing to say about the challenge that I issued because I did become, in my mind, the rightful number one contender to the World Championship after I beat Freddy Huggins at Total Mayhem. And so, what's going on? Why am I not getting a deserved response from the World Champion? Is it because he's afraid? Should I be questioning whether he has the balls to step up and face me? And he says, then again, maybe it's because Tommy Cornell has Wolf Hawkins' balls now. So Angry Gilmore's Angry's getting a little angry here. He wants a response from the champ. And so Angry Gilmore just says, so Kyle, I apologize. I know it's your show, but I've got a chair right here, and I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to wait until Wolf Hawkins decides that he wants to accept my challenge because I said I came here to be the TCW World Heavyweight Championship, the biggest prize in the sport. That's why I'm here, and I've earned my opportunity, and I'm going to get it from Wolf Hawkins. So Angry Gilmore pulls up a chair, and he's just waiting now for Wolf Hawkins, and Kyle Rhodes just says, well, folks, we're going to go to commercial. We'll see what happens here. As Angry Gilmore is not exactly happy, questioning Wolf's manhood here. And whether he's actually going to acknowledge Angry Gilmore. So in 81, after the commercial, we come back, and yes, here they come. It is the Syndicate who make their way out, and you will note that Ernest Youngman is not with them. And that is because, as Wolf mentions, Youngman's getting ready for a match he's going to have here in just a bit with Dazzling Dave Diamond. And we all know that's going to be a short match. But Wolf and the Syndicate come out, and they're, as always, pretty pleased right now, although two members are not, because we see the scowls on the face of Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson, because we know they lost to the New Wave at Total Mayhem, and Wolf said last week that they both know they have something to prove to the Syndicate after that loss, because we know what happens to people who lose in the Syndicate. They do not take it lightly, and now Tommy Cornell's back. So Wolf says, I'm going to be completely transparent with you. The reason I did not respond to your challenge, and the reason I am not going to respond to your challenge now, is because you don't deserve my attention. You have not gone through the grind that I've been through in TCW. You came from somewhere where there was no grind. It was a bunch of flash and no substance. He said, I wrestle in TCW. I'm the champion because I've earned my way to that spot. My mentor right here beside me, Tommy Cornell, put me through the ringer to make sure I was ready for the grind. But you haven't been through the rigors of TCW. You've come here and won a couple matches. That's not enough for me to grant you a championship match. So you can see Angry Gilmore getting even more angry here. He's getting heated, and he is standing his ground because knowing that he's standing there as one person with 4 of the Syndicate members on the other side. We know how they've used the numbers game. But Angry Gilmore standing his ground here, and he's just kind of smirking at Wolf. And Wolf says, but here's what I will do. If you think you need to get this shot at my championship, if you think you actually deserve it, you're going to have to earn your way to it. And he said, why don't we start with a match that I'm going to propose? Because last week I said, and we see Wolf turn to the Elite here, Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson. I said that the Elite knew that they had to prove themselves after what happened at Total Mayhem. And so tonight, Eddie Chandler, you're going to prove yourself because Angry Gilmore, you want to fight with the Syndicate, you're going to get a fight tonight because there's a mad man right there in Eddie Chandler, and he has something to prove. So tonight, why don't you take on Eddie, and we'll see if you can handle the grind of the Syndicate. So Wolf is proposing a match here between Angry Gilmore and Eddie Chandler here tonight on Total Wrestling. And so we see Eddie Chandler kind of step up. Tommy Cornell is kind of playing peacemaker here. As Tommy Cornell just kind of, whispers something in Eddie Chandler's ear, and we see Tommy able to kind of get Eddie Chandler to back off a little bit. Angry Gilmore still standing his ground. He wants that championship shot. We don't know if he's going to get it, but we do know that it looks like he's going to take on Eddie Chandler here tonight. So an 81 here for this segment as Angry Gilmore seems okay with this as we start to see the Syndicate make their exit. But before that happens, Wolf has the microphone in his hand, and Eddie Chandler just grabs the microphone away from Wolf, kind of catches Wolf off guard here a little bit. And that's when we just see Eddie Chandler sort of turn into this just raving maniac. As he just starts yelling on the microphone. He's yelling about Scout, yelling about Guy, the New Wave, and telling them that they will find a way to get their revenge on the New Wave. And Nate Johnson steps in, and he's angry too. Both of these guys are kind of yelling into the mic as Wolf and Tommy Cornell just kind of looking at these guys. And even, Eddie Chandler comes out and says, we will find your families if we have to. And Wolf kind of goes over and tries to calm these guys down. Then you kind of see Tommy Cornell come over after to try to calm these guys. They're talking about going after New Wave's families. Like, these guys are very pissed off. And like Wolf said, they have something to prove. What will that mean for tonight's match with Eddie Chandler and Angry Gilmore? We'll find out. But the Elite, about as rattled and frustrated as maybe we've ever seen them, as they're going as far as to threaten the families of the New Wave. So 83 here for this one. All right, it's going to lead us into our first match. It's going to be Mighty Mo getting the win over Jeremy Courtney. We know Mo has been he's still a tag team champion, but his partner, Tana the Mighty, has been out after that dastardly attack from the Center Society. Mo got the win over Eddie Peak at Total Mayhem to kind of, get his revenge after they attacked Tana. We know Tana's out with a significant leg injury, as it's been deemed. So Mo's kind of on his own here for now as he gets the win over Jeremy Courtney. And so gets 829, plunging spine buster. Pretty good stuff here. Mo's pretty good in the ring, as we know. One of our rising stars here in the company. So Mo gets the win. But Mo's not done, because afterwards, here comes Freddy Huggins and Matt Hawking. And Freddy, as usual, calls Kyle Rhodes into the ring. And Freddy says, Kyle Rhodes, you're going to want to hear this just like everybody else. Although, Freddy says, Kyle, you may be part of this whole thing here, because last week you were asking me questions about my match with Angry Gilmore at Total Mayhem, and I said I could not share any comments based on the advice of my lawyers. And so, Freddy said, me and my lawyers over the past week have went digging. We've tried to find out and get all the details of me being the rightful number one contender to the World Heavyweight Championship that I should have won against Aaron Andrews back at Where Angels Fear to Tread. But he said, while we were doing our digging, we found something very interesting, because if TCW is not going to rightfully give me my TCW World Heavyweight Championship match, they're going to give me another kind of match. Because he said what we found was that Mighty Mo here seems to be a bit of a slacker. Freddy says, Mo, when's the last time you defended those TCW Tag Team Championships because my lawyers found the contract that states that as the TCW Tag Team Champion, you must defend your title a certain amount of times in a span of 60 days, 30 days, and all that. Mo, you've not done that. And Mo's just like, wait a minute. Like, I don't have a partner. And Freddy says, I don't care if you don't have a partner. You haven't defended your championship. And Kyle Rhodes, you can go look at the rules. You can look at the contract yourself. You know that I'm right. And so, Freddy says, I am here to tell you that me and my friend Matt Hawkins, who I told you last week is one of the biggest rising stars in TCW. I'm tired of hearing about Mo as one of the biggest rising stars. It's Matt Hawkins, who almost won the Battle Royal for $10,000 at Total Mayhem. Freddy says, we're challenging you for a TCW Tag Team Championship match at Excessive Force because, Mo, that is the last day, Excessive Force, that you have before you are stripped of the TCW Tag Team Championships due to not defending them in the allotted time frame. So Freddy has got it all in writing. He's got his paper. Freddy's always got a piece of paper with him. He had his letter not long ago. He's got this contract with him. He hands it over to Kyle Rhodes. Kyle Rhodes is kind of skimming it, and Mo's just like, come on, what are you talking about? I'm not going to. And then, Freddy just keeps going on. I don't care that your partner's laid up with a fake injury. He just doesn't want to be here to have to wrestle with you. That's what I think. And that starts getting Mo a little bit pissed off here. And then finally, Kyle Rhodes trying to calm things down. Freddy sensing that Mo is getting very frustrated. So him and Matt Hawkins back on out of there as Mo is looking at Kyle Rhodes, just kind of questioning it, looking at this piece of paper. And so we don't really get a resolution here. But we know that Freddy Huggins and Matt Hawkins have challenged Mighty Mo for the Tag Team Championships. But Mo doesn't have a partner. His partner's out injured. What's going to happen? We'll see. 72 for this one. All right. Now, speaking of tag teams, last week, ZWB and Ed Stone officially issued a challenge to Greg Gage and Matthew Keith, and we assume that we're going to get that match this week. Well, ZWB and Stone are waiting for Greg Gage and Matthew Keith, and they're still waiting, and they're still waiting. Finally, they come out, but they're not in their wrestling gear. They are in street clothes, and they just kind of are laughing at these two saying, we're not wrestling tonight. He says, but we kind of hear Greg Gage yelling, we found replacements. We're not wrestling you guys just yet. So ZWB and Ed Stone are just, kind of taunting them, saying, come on, you don't want to get in the ring with us. But Greg Gage and Matthew Keith, for some reason, have decided they're not accepting this challenge here tonight. But they found a replacement team. Who's it going to be? 64 for the segment. And it is, wow, in a pretty good match here, 77. It is Rich and Famous, Jackpot Jordan, Jake Idle. They are the replacement team. And it is, of course, ZWB. And Ed Stone getting the win in 11:53. Ed Stone pins Jackpot Jordan with the party's over. ZWB, incredible ring work, 83 for this one. Ed Stone with a 72. I know Rich and Famous have not really, made an impact yet, but they're kind of in the long plan for these guys. But, when you look at kind of where things stand here, the bigger story is that ZWB and Ed Stone get the win, and kind of what we're pushing, we didn't have a segment to use this for, kind of pushing that Greg Gage and Matthew Keith are kind of on the outside, and it seems like they're sort of scouting here a little bit, as you can kind of see them, talking back and forth while this match is going on, and that's how we leave it. No further interaction here for this week, but 77 here for a pretty good match. I mean, really, and I think, again, you want to know why I brought in ZWB, the in-ring performance, like this guy's bringing the match quality up already in the stuff that he's been in. So, yeah, a good match here between these four. All right, then we get the announcement on commentary from Kyle Rhodes that it is official. It is going to be Ernest Youngman going one-on-one with Chris Flynn at Excessive Force. So, the former kind of bodyguard, I guess you could say, of the Syndicate, taking on the new muscle of the Syndicate, Ernest Youngman. This comes off the heels of Flynn making another return. He's made a couple returns here since he was thrown out of the Syndicate. He had that match against Wolf, and now he made his return after Youngman defeated Troy Tornado at Total Mayhem. And so we had the interaction between those two. Flynn tried to get the Flynn lock on him. Youngman got out. But Kyle Rhodes says the matchmakers here in TCW have made it official. It will be Chris Flynn versus Ernest Youngman. And so we know that match is set. And Rhodes says Chris Flynn will be here next week on Total Wrestling. But as we teased earlier, it is going to be Ernest Youngman in action tonight, 59 here for the segment, as it is Ernest Youngman versus Dazzling Dave Diamond. And Youngman gets the win in 4:38 with the hit. I like Dazzling Dave, but as we know, Dave has no stamina whatsoever. So a 66 I will take for this. Surely he didn't get a stamina knock. He has declining physical ability, but pretty much anything longer than 7 minutes for Dazzling Dave is a chore. So Youngman, this is a match to kind of put him over because remember, Dazzling Dave's not too bad in terms of popularity. He's like low 60s, I want to say. So Youngman getting a clean win over him is significant because we know Youngman's on the way up, and so a significant win here for Ernest Youngman. But after the match, Youngman is leaving and someone else is entering. And that is when we get sort of an exchange here in the aisleway. Ernest Youngman makes his exit, and here comes our current international champion, TBone Bright. And so we get TBone, who kind of stands up to Ernest Youngman in the aisleway. We know TBone mentioned last week he was going to come out here, issue an open challenge. He'd be ready to fight. He's going to be a fighting champion. So he comes out here, and he was not going to wait for Ernest Youngman to make his exit. His very slow and methodical exit, as Ernest Youngman does. And so T-Bone comes out, and we get these two kind of, face-to-face here as T-Bone kind of stands up to Ernest Youngman, knowing that there's history here with Youngman going after T-Bone's friend, Aaron Andrews, all this other stuff that we've seen over the past, couple months now. So a little bit of an interesting exchange there between T-Bone and Ernest Youngman, 72. But as we said, T-Bone is coming to the ring to wait for an opponent. And we hear him kind of say, I said last week I would take on anyone who wants to step up and challenge me for this international championship. Who's it going to be? Well, here you go, folks. He's back again because Freddy Huggins said earlier if he was not going to get his shot at the World Heavyweight Championship, he was going to take a shot at the Tag Team Championships, and now he's going to take a shot at the International Championship. So Freddy is back again with Matt Hawking. He's going for all the gold here in TCW, and we can tell that Freddy's loss to Angry Gilmore has set him off course here because he is now taking aim at all three belts. And Huggins says, I'm the one that's accepting the challenge because I made sure when I was with my lawyers this week that I was the one who got the contract in first to accept this challenge, T-Bone, because I'm going for the Tag Team Championships. I'm going to take this international title from you, and I'm going to be the World Heavyweight Champion very, very soon. And so Freddy says, but here's what's important. You need a little history lesson. He said, way back when, in January, T-Bone, I issued an open challenge, and you were the one that accepted it. You came out and beat me, and no doubt, my memory's not that good, but it is good enough to remember that you cheated. And Freddy said, I know you cheated me out of that match, and what have you done since then? You've gotten all the opportunities that I've not gotten. And Freddy says, so this is my chance to get back at you. I'm going to take that championship from you, and then me and Matt Hawking are going to go take those tag team championships from Mighty Mo in a couple weeks. So Freddy's ready. Freddy's as confident as ever. He's got the backing of his lawyers. Freddy has pulled off his master plan here, and we've got an impromptu international championship match. T-Bone Bright versus Freddy Huggins. 75 for this one. Can Freddy do it? Can he start racking up gold in TCW? Wow, good match here. 82 for these. This was better than their previous match, which we did have, by the way, if you want to go back history-wise, January week 2. This was the match we had because Freddy was calling out Aaron Andrews, wanting the World Heavyweight Championship then, and it was T-Bone who answered the challenge. And so T-Bone beat Freddy. This time around, a great match, 82 between these two. Even T-Bone's off his game. It's still a great match between these two. T-Bone gets the win over Freddy Huggins in 14:39 when Freddy gets himself disqualified. So, and we're playing it up here that Matt Hawking interferes. So kind of the story is that Freddy sort of, is calling for Matt Hawking just when Freddy thinks he's about to be done here. So T-Bone's about to hit sort of the final strike, and Freddy calls for Matt Hawking. Hawking runs in, attacks T-Bone. That leads to the disqualification. So Freddy kind of calling the shots here. But Freddy knew that this was the only way to get out of here without losing. And so that's kind of what we're playing up as Freddy does this here. And so, of course, now we've got a 2-on-1 situation. Freddy's up now. Matt Hawking has attacked T-Bone, and Freddy's going in to do some damage as well. Well, Freddy, one to seemingly piss everyone off, Did that earlier to someone else, and wow, an 85 here. So look at that, getting into a little light blue action with these guys involved. So here comes Mighty Mo, who we know, was the subject of Freddy's just ridiculousness earlier. And Mo hits the ring, and he comes in, and he delivers a huge clothesline right to Freddy Huggins, then does it to Matt Hawking. These two are sent out and over the top, and you can hear after Mo does this, he yells, "You guys want me? Bring it." So Mo is seemingly accepting the challenge that he is going to defend the tag team titles by himself against Freddy Huggins and Matt Hawking. Come on, that can't be the case, right? Mo can't do that. So Mo is fired up, though, and he helps TBone up, and we see Freddy and Matt Hawking angry as usual. So after getting kind of their plan thwarted here by Mighty Mo. So 85, tremendous segment here for these guys. And we've got some interesting things in the works, actually, you can tell, moving forward. So, all right, now we're going to get the match here, kind of your letdown match before the big main event, which is going to be Angry Gilmore against Eddie Chandler. Titan gets the win over Elliot Thomas, 506. The Titanic chokeslam. Main event, Elliot Thomas comes up short again, 60 for the match. Decent stuff here from Titan. We've said Titan's kind of an interesting guy because he's got some pretty good skills. Of course, the team with Killer Shark. And the biggest part of this is that commentary once again noting there is no Eddie Peak. It is Titan out here with Shark, and still no Eddie Peak, who we haven't seen in a couple weeks now. So, what is the future of the Center Society? We're still pushing that as the story here. So, Titan gets the win over Elliot Thomas. All right, well, last week we said that someone contractually had to be here this week. It was mentioned by Kyle Rhodes that contractually Jay Chord had to be here this week on Total Wrestling. Because the story last week was looking at the video highlights of Sammy Bach beating Jay Chord. Commentary was saying, what is Jay Chord going to do now? He's lost another big match. And so Kyle Rhodes comes into the ring and says, folks, we said it. Contractually, he had to be here. I know for a fact. I was alerted a few minutes ago that he has arrived at the building. And so Kyle says, Jay Chord, please come on out. And so Jay Chord makes his way out. And you can tell, just by the look on this guy's face, he's not here for anything other than something that he has on his mind. 85 for the segment. Jay Chord steps in the ring. Kyle Rhodes, kind of just, looking around here. And then Jay Chord just goes over and just completely rips the microphone away from Kyle Rhodes. And Rhodes is caught off guard. And Jay looks directly into the crowd and says something very simple. I am telling you all that what comes next is on all of you. And Jay throws the microphone at Kyle Rhodes, and Jay Chord, just like that, steps out of the ring, walks to the back, and he's out of there. That's kind of your setup here as we go into it. And then it's worth noting that as we come back from commercial, we're about to go into our main event here. Kyle Rhodes lets us know, folks, I saw what you just saw from Jay Chord. We didn't really get anything out of him, but I have been alerted that when you saw Jay Chord leave the ringside area, he went directly to the exit, and he has left the building. So, Kyle Rhodes makes it clear that Jay Chord came out, said something about what comes next is on everyone, and he left the building. So, what's Jay Chord up to? We don't know. 85 for the segment. All right, our main event, Angry Gilmore versus Eddie Chandler. Chandler has something to prove. Can Gilmore perhaps somehow earn an opportunity here against Wolf Hawkins? We don't even know if this is an official match to earn an opportunity. And so, here we go. Main event time. And in a 77, which we kind of figured this would be a worse match than TBone and Huggins, but you know why we put this in the main event slot. It is Angry Gilmore getting the win over Eddie Chandler in 11:41. And how does he do it? Well, what's been the theme, right? Nate Johnson has always seemingly interfered in different matches. Same for Eddie Chandler. The Elite have been the interference guys, right? That's how they've always played it up. They've always had each other's back. Well, this time around, botched interference from Nate Johnson. So it was Nate Johnson who inadvertently costs Eddie Chandler the match after the botched interference, and that allows Angry Gilmore to hit the anger management to get the win. So it's 77 for the match. Again, this did about as good as it could do, based on the fact that both guys have declining physical ability, both inconsistent. So it is what it is. But again, Angry Gilmore gets the win, and, Eddie Chandler, Nate Johnson, still pissed off, right? And so, Gilmore with the win, and then what happens? Well, these two try to, again, use the numbers game. We always see that with the heels. As you see them start to stand up, and we see them fuming after what happened, and they turn their attention to Angry Gilmore, but then here they come. The new wave. They're marching to the ring, and they've got chairs in their hand. Because remember, these guys threatening their families, and these guys are pissed. And so, Scout and Guide making their way down. They're marching the ring with chairs, and the Elite realize that they have put themselves in a bad spot here. As Wolf Hawkins and Tommy Cornell kind of standing off to the side, they're watching all this play out. And so, you kind of see them watching this whole thing play out, and they're not stepping up to get in the middle of this, right? They just basically are watching as New Wave have locked their eyes on Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson, and they are marching through the crowd here with the chairs as Chandler and Johnson have made their way off. So that leaves Wolf and Tommy Cornell just kind of watching all this play out. 66 for the segment. We knew this wouldn't do great, but we had to use it. And then what does that lead us to? Wow, we finished with a 98 here. Of course we do. So that's when we see, Wolf slowly walk his way into the ring. Tommy Cornell slowly making his way behind Wolf. And Angry Gilmore, once again, just as he did earlier, stepping up, not backing down here. And he goes face to face with Wolf Hawkins. And then we see kind of a similar theme here. Just like earlier, Tommy Cornell able to, kind of whisper something into the ear of Eddie Chandler. That caused Eddie Chandler to back off a little bit. And now we do see Tommy Cornell do the same thing. He goes up to Wolf, whispers something in his ear, and then Tommy Cornell just kind of taps Wolf on the chest. And when he does that, Wolf backs off here as Angry Gilmore is left taking a look at the TCW World Heavyweight Championship on Wolf's shoulder. And that's how we go off the air here to finish this edition of Total Wrestling. So 98 for the segment to finish up here. Let's see what we get for the show. Get an 86, so we increase our popularity in 4 regions. Not bad, I would say. Pretty good show. I mean, you look at it here, right? Like, pretty much everything delivered. The worst segment we had was really just the announcement of Flynn versus Youngman. Those two guys are not that over still, but everything else, good stuff. I know very sort of angle-heavy as usual, but got to push the stories, and I wanted to add a little more backstory because it has been a couple months since our most recent episode. So there you go. That was Total Wrestling. Some big developments moving forward. And let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, so that was Total Wrestling. Awesome show. Fantastic reviews. Let's look at this real quick. SWF, they struck gold with their show. Rocky Golden with the performance of the night. So they got an 80, so I don't care if they're striking gold. We had a better show. But yeah, kind of your usual crew here in the main event slots in the SWF. But what I'm noting, Daryl Devine, his marriage has ended. Breaking news that Seduction, it's a divorce, Daryl Devine. Seduction and Devine are getting a divorce after he was caught having an affair with Vita. Uh-oh. Well, that's not good. Vita's on our roster. I know that. We haven't used her, but I know she's on the roster. Scandal apparently came to light after an incriminating text message was discovered by Seduction. Just incredible to me that Daryl Devine has married Seduction. But no more. As this split has happened, and I did already kind of look at this to check the mail. So we have hatred. So Seduction and Vita now hate each other due to the fallout from the Daryl Devine, the affair. So here's Vita, the 33-year-old white Swedish female. And she, of course, was brought to TCW a while back, and she had the pairing with Ed Stone. And we kind of, right now, have kind of stayed away from that because, we've used Ed Stone another way. But apparently, we've kept her away from Ed Stone. We haven't kept her away from Daryl Devine. So there you go. But all right, so there's the hatred. Cheating, divorce, Daryl Devine, Seduction, and divorce. Yep, call it cheating. Well, I mean, Daryl Devine's not won an important match in a while, so he needs something to do, or someone, I guess. All right, let's look at the TCW rating here. 4.12 for the TV rating. That's got to be, I would have to think, one of our highest ever, just based on the way that we're going here. So let's see. So Stanley Cup Game 7 did beat us. Okay, so we had some stiff competition against the Stanley Cup Game 7, which is, I guess, timely. Stanley Cup's was Game 6 coming up soon. So who knows? Maybe we're trying to get some bits out of that. So we had a tough competition there. But look at the rating. Wow, 11.7 for the Stanley Cup Game 7. We get a 4.12, and SWF gets a 3.22. So we're still outshining the SWF as we usually do. But nonetheless, that's where we stand. with TCW. And that was Total Wrestling, as we said. Appreciate you guys watching as always. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Send your well wishes to Daryl Devine as he moves forward now with Vita. And yeah, a lot more fun stuff on the way in this series. I forgot just how fun it was to do this. Like I said, that's what always helps when I go back and do the storyline notes. Really refreshes my mind a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, we had those big things planned, and that helps me get excited to get back into it. And as you can tell, we're building towards some pretty big stuff. And look, I mean, events-wise, as I said, we got Excessive Force coming up in June, but then the bigger show is going to be Summer Showdown in July. So that is worth noting there. So again, Excessive Force will feel a little Clash of Champions-esque, although as you'll see, we've got a pretty big main event for that show brewing, but that's just where we're at right now in TCW. So, again, appreciate you guys watching as always. Check out all the other stuff on the channel. WWF 1992 save is back, so if you want to check that out. And some more saves probably to make their return as well at some point in the future as I finish up my storyline notes from those and maybe, a new one being thrown into the mix as usual. So, appreciate you guys watching as always. And on the next episode of our TCW save, it will be Total Wrestling for June, Week 3.